Alright, here's some advice for tuning a full floating tremolo with locks on the nut. Now you can set up the guitar to either be full floating, or which means when you hit the strings you can go down and you can come back up, or you can set it up so it just does dive bombs, so it's been pulled back with all the springs, and the only thing you can do with it is dive bomb down, so you only be able to bring the strings down. Now when you go full floating, this is how I set up my guitar on the back here. 3 springs and a slight angle here with the claw. So if you were to look at the guitar as if all the heavy gauge strings are up top here, flip it around, you can see how that is set up. It's giving it a bit of slack there on the heavy strings. It works fine. It stays in tune that way. So when you're full floating like this, when you put tension on the strings, as you say, start tuning the low E string, it starts, you're slacking or pulling. You're also causing these strings to slack and pull at the same time. So a lot of people have problems with getting these strings in tune initially, and part of the problem is the locking. So because when you lock the nut, it will sharpen some of your strings. So what I do is, first off, this is for full floating, I stretch my strings a lot when I change them. Stretch them tons. Tune your guitar, don't lock anything, just tune it. Wank on the whammy bar as much as you can. Just get all that stretch out. You can bend your strings up and everywhere, just get that stretch out of the strings. Once you're done stretching your strings a lot, stretch them again. Anyways, first thing you do is once you finish stretching your strings, go to your fine tuners. That's all these little guys up here. Bring them all the way up to the highest point that they go, and then bring them down by about 3 turns. Okay, so you'll have lots of play coming back down and tuning your guitar. Because once you lock it, the only place these strings are going to go is slacker. So they're gonna detune by going flat. They're not gonna detune by going sharp. Your springs are gonna relax every once in a while, and the only thing that you're gonna have to do for adjustments later on is to tighten the strings. So keep these as high as they go. Just bring them down slightly, just in case you do have to adjust for to make them a little looser for some reason. Then unlock, well, you should have it unlocked anyways. Keep it unlocked, your nut. Then tune all your strings. Well, actually, just tune the first 2, the E and the A string, depending on how your lock works. Mine has 3 locking bolts, clamps. Each clamp affects 2 strings. So first 2 strings, your thickest gauge strings, tune them. Then, using a tuner, for me I use a PV Tubex. It's got a tuner in it already. You can see it reads out the cents and all that. Let me just try and get that for you. So if I go out of tune, it's going to show you how many cents I'm going to be out of tune. This is very important that you have some form of tuner that reads off the cents like this. Because once you get these two top strings tuned, clamp the lock down on your first two strings, then figure out what the difference is reading on your tuner, how much sharp it makes your strings. So same guitar, different gauge of strings is going to read differently each time. Like, you know, it'll be pretty much the same with the same gauge of strings. But if I change them from like a 9 gauge to a 10 gauge, they're going to be different. So when I did this guitar, I wrote down what the changes in cents were. So for my first two strings, the E went sharp by 25 cents. The A stayed the same. So then do your next two strings. Tune them and then lock. Find out what the difference is. In my situation with these as being 9 gauge strings, the D and the G remained the same. They didn't change. The locking mechanism did not make them go any sharper. Then I did the same thing to the B and the E string, my lightest gauge strings, and tuned them, locked it, and my B string went sharp by 15 cents. The E string, the lightest gauge string, did not change. So I unlocked everything. Then I went ahead and tuned my guitar. However, I compensated by flatting my E string, my highest gauge string, by 25 cents. And same with the B string. I went minus 15 cents. So when I clamped it all down after tuning it, it was almost exactly what I needed. And my fine tuning was minimal. So then I got it all tuned, and it works great. So write down what your difference in cents is when you set up your guitar and put your strings on and lock it. Then you'll always know later on what you need to change it to. Just remember, if you change the gauge of the strings, it's going to be different. And, you know, sometimes the brands are slightly different too. So if you change from going from PVs to Diodarios, chances are they could, you know, you could get a difference in cents from having the nut locked and having the nut unlocked. So keep that in mind. Yeah, that's about it. Equipment I'm using here. This is a 91 PV Destiny Kaler Spider on there. Probably one of the best tremolo systems ever made. This thing, you know, I wank on it and it hardly goes out of tune. It's really old. Like the guitar is like, you know, 24, 25 years old. And my bar is actually really loose on here. What I do is I take plumber's tape, that stuff. It's really thin, but you know, tape. Put it on the threads, and it keeps it tight in there. Otherwise, this bar would be just collapsing inside because the treads are a little bit worn. It's been used a lot. What else? Yeah, it's an awesome American-made guitar. Neck through. I don't like bolt-ons anymore. I do have bolt-ons. Like I have this Strat copy here. It's a bolt-on. I only use it for certain things, certain sounds. Yeah, this is a great guitar. Awesome American-made guitar. Beautiful. I've worn out the rosewood a little bit on this. I actually had to restain it a week ago. It was starting to go really light up in this area here, and it started going light along here in the fretboard, and I had to take some gel stain and go ahead and stain it back to dark again. And that worked out really well. But actually, I did that the last time I changed the strings, and yeah, it looks dark and awesome again. Yeah, I've got some scalloping on the frets on the fretboard. The rosewood is starting to get a little bit scooped in there from my fingernails and stuff. Also, when you're tuning, when you tune a guitar, always check your tuning hitting the string constantly at the strength that you normally hit your strings at. Otherwise, you're going to be tuning it with a soft pluck, and you'll be out of tune when you're actually hitting chords and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. When you're tuning your guitar, strike the string like you were playing it. If you play with a pick, use your pick. Me, I use my fingers because I'm always, finger picking all the time. So there you go. Some advice. Hope it helps anybody out there that's trying to tune their guitar and learning how to tune to make it a floating trem. And hope it helps. Bye.